Yo, what's up everybody? It's Manga Mike and I'm back with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 6 do's and 6 don'ts of creating one-shots. Let's get started. Alrighty everybody, so before we get started I just wanted to say thank you to Young Wavy the artist for suggesting this video. It's my first ever suggestion for a video, so I really do appreciate that. And I also wanted to say, if you enjoy really good shonen style art, check him out, man. He has some great art. He also makes very good content. So anyways, without further ado, let's get started. So the first one, I know that this seems very basic, but just understand your page limit. Don't go crazy and write a whole bunch of stuff and have like 10 pages of something written and then try to now make that into 10 pages of a comic. It's just not gonna work. Also, like, if you're doing it for a contest, don't do too many pages. Don't do too little, right? If it's like 6 to 16 pages, which is what I see on some, don't do 5 pages. Don't do 18 pages, right? They're not going to care that it's a good story or what have you. If you're over the limit, you're over the limit, or if you're under, you're under. So keep that in mind. Next, don't start your story with a cliche. Don't have your character like waking up from a dream or something like that. Now, what I will say is that you can do a cliche if it is meaningful for your actual story. So I think Apple Black does this. And without revealing too much, the main character of Apple Black, he kind of has a nightmare, but that nightmare has a lot to do with the story in general. And he wakes up from that. So that's important to that actual story, and I think that that works out okay. But just do your research on cliches and just try to avoid them if you can, or if you're going to use it, make sure it's super meaningful to your story. Don't just do it to do it. Um, and again, make sure every scene is meaningful in your one shot. So you don't really have enough space to do anything that's just fluff. So everything should be evoking some kind of reaction from people. Everything should be a reveal. Everything should be conflictual. All of those things need to happen in a very concise manner within your story, and it all should be moving the plot forward in some way. I mean, this should be true of anything, but by plot in your one shot, I mean the actual main plot, because it's not going to be a subplot that's moving forward. It's a main plot. So make sure you're thinking about that as you're making your one shot as well, because you want to kind of conserve space. So this is like a story about myself, and I'll briefly talk about this. Don't try to have like big ideas and then try to edit them down. And what I mean by that is don't try to make a one shot out of like a 16 chapter thing that you've already done. My reasoning for that is some people could probably do it, but if this is your first one shot, it's going to be exceedingly difficult to try to take all of those ideas that you have and kind of distill them down into something that's small, concise, and has the flair that you want it to go for. And for me, like I said, I try to do this for a contest, and the feedback because I didn't win the contest, I had the most views, which I was very proud of, but I didn't win it. And the feedback that I got from that particular agency was that my art was great. And like the stuff that I was doing was fine. It was just that they didn't think that my story was strong enough, but I took it more as it didn't make sense to them. And the reason why is because I was trying to fit too much stuff into 10 pages. I've been writing this story, and I'm still writing it, and I have been for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, and it was just impossible for me to be able to do all of that stuff in 10 pages, So just keep that in mind. Do start your story within a page of your main conflict. What do I mean by this? You don't want to have 3 or 4 pages of just getting to like know your main character, unless you have like 50 pages to work with. But the reason why I say that is because you don't have that much time to finish a one-shot, and you also don't want to bore your readers, right? This is supposed to be an interesting story from start to finish, and in order to do that, you want to be able to have your conflict start as soon as possible. I would even say if you can get it done in the first page, like the main conflict done in the first page, you're really winning here, because you're getting a hook into your audience and you're also pushing your plot forward really, really fast. So for instance, imagine if Bleach started with, and I'm not saying that this is even possible, but if Bleach started the Soul Society arc with Aizen being dead, you would be like, oh my gosh, like you see this panel and it would immediately draw you in and it would immediately make you want to go through and look at everything that was happening. Don't have a large cast of characters. In 10 pages, I managed to fit 3 characters, and I think that was pushing it. If you have more than a few characters in your one shot, I would say you're probably doing a little bit too much or trying to do too much. So keep that in mind, because you have to develop these characters, right? For instance, in Naruto's one shot, like, technically there's like 4 or 5 characters, but I would say Naruto and one other character are like somewhat fully developed, and that's it. And that's all you really need. So keep that in mind when you're making a one shot. Too many characters is going to make it way too confusing for your readers, and it's going to stretch you kind of thin in terms of being able to write your entire story within that one shot. Have clear and concise plot lines. So Naruto, I think, has a great, like, short, concise plot line, because Naruto wants to become Hokage one day, and that's it, right? He has obstacles in the way of that, but that is it. And that's kind of what you want for your one shot as well. It doesn't have to be, of course, like that. It could be like, I just want to save a cat from a tree today, or I want to, your main character might want to put out a fire. Your main character might want to swim across a lake or something like that, right? And that's all you really need, and you want it to be nice and short. If you're spending like 5-10 sentences trying to tell somebody like about your plot line, it's probably too much. Don't hide any information. So this is good for one-shots, but this is also good advice for if you're pitching to a company. So if you are doing a one-shot, it should not have any cliffhangers in it. You shouldn't be hinting at anything else that's happening in your world. It needs to be concise. You're not going to be able to do a good one shot and then also leave a whole bunch of mystery, because one shots are just that. They're a story from start to finish, and they have clear, concise ideas within them, and they have clear and concise plots within them. If you're pitching to a company, the same is true. You're not hiding anything from that company, right? There's no need to. They need to know all the information about your comic or your manga, because if they don't, then you're obviously leaving out probably the best parts of your story, and they're going to be now less likely to hire you. Just like they're going to be less likely to publish your work if it is not, if it has a whole bunch of holes in it for whatever reason, or a whole bunch of loose ends. Have a clear conflict. I love this page in Bleach, because it kind of shows 2 conflicts within one or a few panels. Ichigo has this conflict within himself, which is he has this hollow inside of him, and he's scared, right? Not at this point in time, but that was kind of like the conflict leading up to this. He's kind of scared because he doesn't want the hollow to take over him, but the more scared he is, the more likely it is that the hollow will take over him. And then we have another conflict. That was his internal conflict. The external conflict is the fact that he now has to fight a foe. So within your one shot, you want to do the same. You can have both an emotional and an external, or internal and an external conflict, and you want to be able to get those 2 points across very quickly as well, in order to make sure that your one shot is nice and concise. Don't info dump. I'm not going to talk too much about this. Just don't do it. you might have to info dump a little bit, but you should not have pages and pages or even panels and panels of like just text. Don't do that. Let the reader experience, show the reader through your artwork what you want them to understand and know. Make sure you have a beginning, middle, and end. I kind of talked about this before already, but your one shot should have a clear kind of like swing into the conflict, which is kind of your beginning, the acceptance of that conflict, which is the start of the middle, the rising action leading up to the resolution of that conflict. That's your entirety of your middle. The resolution of the conflict is now the end of your middle, and then your end is the actual resolution. You want readers to feel good about your story at the end. Make sure that's in your one shot as well. And finally, don't attempt to do too much. I know that this is kind of like the final point to wrap them all up, and it kind of hits on all the points that I kind of put out there. If you do find yourself writing too much, that's okay. You might not be a one-shot manga artist or a comic artist, right? Or storyteller in general, and that's okay. Don't force yourself into a box that's too small. But anyways, that's kind of all I have. Hopefully that this felt really helpful for you. I'll probably do another video talking about my experiences when I was doing my own one-shot. And I'll kind of go through my one-shot as well and kind of show it to you. But anyways, I hope you really enjoyed the video. Thanks again to Young Wavy for recommending it. I had a lot of fun creating this. But other than that, if you liked, make sure you leave a like. If you have any other videos you'd like me to do, make sure you leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to that 1K before the end of the year. I might not be able to do it, but I'm going to try as hard as I can. I'm going to keep grinding out these videos. But anyways, I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.